The hard thing about arguments is you don't always know when they're gonna happen. An argument, it can break out, and before you know it, you're heated, they're heated, and you're wondering how you got here in the first place. Well, my next guest says if you have the right skills, you can slow down the fight before it snowballs into something bigger. Studio 5 relationship contributor Dr. Matt Townsend is here to share his golden rules for tough conversations. I'm excited about this one. Welcome back.
Yes, this is fun.
You know, it is something about being able to handle conflict, and we were talking about this earlier. I'm interested to know, like, do you know anybody, is this really possible to have someone who's really good at handling conflict?
Yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah.
And because if you notice, you handle conflict really well with a lot of people. So all the things you do with everyone else is all you need to do with your partner, right?
Yeah.
It's generally with our most intimate partner that the conflict is the scariest, it's the roughest, it's the most intense.
Right.
So all we have to do is take the great skills we use everywhere else and bring them home.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, you know, you're the toughest on the people that you're
Yeah.
closest to, you love the most. Say I'm in an argument and I see it starting
Yeah.
to snowball. I
There it
can
goes.
feel the
Yeah.
tone change. What am I gonna do first?
First rule is I want you to just slow down. Anytime when you can slow down a conflict or like a fight, an argument, the better off it's gonna go. A slower burn is better than a fast burn, right?
Yeah.
So slow down, and I call it turn on your discovery mode. So every one of us has to either go into discovery, which is where we're inquiring, we're curious, we're wondering what's going on, or we go into defense mode. So what I want you to check is, are you in discovery mode? Because most arguments take place when somebody said something and now I'm defending. So defense mode goes on, and when mine goes on, yours goes on. So we have two defenders, and nobody's discovering, nobody's learning. So the first thing everyone needs to do when the argument starts is turn on discovery, meaning get curious.
Yeah.
Don't assume you know what they mean. Try to take it 2 steps deeper, ask more questions, get into the issue more.
Yeah, and I think your next point really lends to that, because you're telling us we need to check in with the other person. It's getting curious.
That's right.
What exactly are we checking for when we're touching in?
One thing when I'm starting to check, what I want to see is if they're open. Think of that. If you want to get into a barn or a door, you've got to see if the door's open. You don't go into a door that's closed. So before we try to have a real conversation about something that's serious, let's see if they're open to it. And one way to tell is, are they in defense mode?
Yeah.
Or are they in discovery mode? How many times have you said, honey, can we talk? And he's like, why? And the minute they go to defense mode, it's going to get defensive. And so just check very openly, very carefully, are they willing to learn? And you can even ask, I have this thing I want to talk about. I want it to be safe for both of us. Do you think we could talk about it for 10 minutes right now? And let's just make it safe for each other.
Yeah.
And if we can get them in a safer mode, then now we're both in.
So I've checked in with myself, I've slowed it down, I've checked in with my spouse. Where do I go from here?
Then throughout the conversation, I want you to keep checking in. I want you to keep noticing, I call it the vital signs. 3 signs I look for. I look for negative emotion, and if I see negative emotion going up, then I'm gonna change how I'm talking. If I see them getting more irritated, if they're rolling their eyes, if they're getting more defensive, then I am going to adjust the conversation. So I look for negative emotion going up. I look for misunderstanding. Is our understanding getting clearer or more confusing? And I look for trust.
Okay.
Are they opening up more? Are they trusting what I'm saying more? Because if I see those signs, then feel free to keep talking any way you want. If you don't see those signs, if those signs are going up and it's getting more intense, you need to back out and try to probably get curious again and get back into the person.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, if you don't see those signs, is there ever a time to step away or walk away?
Generally, if you see really high negative emotion and it's getting really confusing what we're talking about anymore, and trust is going out the window, it might be a perfect time to call a timeout.
Oh, okay.
But here's the rule. Some people love timeouts because then they're out.
Yep,
so sometimes people push you to that moment so we can end the conversation. The rule is, if you call a timeout, we always have to come back with a time in.
Okay, so we've seen those vital signs. Next, you want us to look for common ground.
Yeah, I call it maximize the middle, right? There's 10% of our marriage that is magical, that our partner and I, we are so intimate, it's so close, we're so together, and there's 10% where we just really want to pop them in the kisser, right? Those 2 sides are the 2 extremes. But the real beauty of any conversation is usually the middle 80. It's the middle 60.
Yeah.
It's that part that we do agree. So listen in the conversation for agreement. Listen for what you share in common, and then show them, you know what, I totally am with you on that. I feel the exact same way as you do. Because we really relax with people that are like us. We really relax with the people that can see all of the good that we're about.
Yeah.
So if you can really get into the common ground before you start hammering on your side that you've got to fix, you create a stronger foundation that we can both trust.
Oof, I love that. My husband and I call it sitting on the same side of the table.
I love that. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, next, what's your final golden rule for tough conversations? If there's one that we got to look for, it's this one.
You have to reinforce the value of the other. So the word intimus in Latin means the innermost being. If you truly want to create intimacy emotionally with somebody, you have to highlight that you understand their innermost being and you value it. So no matter what you're doing, and you could sprinkle this throughout the entire conversation. Look, you mean so much to me. You're my most important person in my world. I love everything about you, and I have this issue I want to talk about. The more you reinforce how much you really see my inner soul, the more you trust me. And the more it will literally bring down your kind of natural man or your fight or flight. And when your natural man is down, then your real essence, your spiritual man, your spiritual self, can truly create connection with another. So you can do the reinforcing of the value. I love you. You're my best friend. We're on the same team. I want to make this work. And I just want to talk about this issue.
It really comes down to being seen.
Yeah, it is.
To being seen, to being heard. Those conflicts, I think, often come up when we don't feel seen or
That's
heard.
right. That's
that
right.
golden rule.
And then we turn into our ugly self, yeah.
Yeah, well, okay.
Then it gets crazy.
So good, Matt. Something else I'm excited to talk about. Valentine's
Date night. And it's only a few weeks away.
And there's limited quantities.
Yeah, it's a little
tickets.
smaller location. It's at the Gail Miller campus in Sandy. We're going to go in depth on this content about how to manage conflict and how to manage our relationship communication. It's going to be kind of a really intimate workshop, and it'll be fun. We'll laugh, but it's at 7 o'clock on February 8th. Go to matttownsend.com. Check it out and get your tickets.
It's really interactive. If your husband's like, I don't want to go to this, you can say it's kind of like a comedy show.
It's a comedy show.
Where we're going to learn about our marriage. And you're going to love me more at the end.
That's exactly right. And you'll laugh, you'll cry.
You'll cry.
It's better than cats.
Full spectrum.
It's awesome.
So fun. Can't wait.
Thanks,
I'm
Daylan.
coming this year.
Do it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Matt.